Mark Hancock is me, and the topic of today's talk is pronunciation as a listening skill, which is slightly surprising, right? Because we normally think of pronunciation as something productive. It's an interesting exercise to think of it receptively as well. In particular, I want to look at understanding authentic English. Authentic, in this case, meaning stuff which wasn't made for English teaching, such as off the radio. So the lesson is broken down into 4 sections. The first section is a little exploration of the problem. We have a problem-solution part here. The problem is in section A, and the rest of the lesson is the solution to the problem. In section B, we're going to look at variation according to context, and in section C, variation according to speaker. This is because I'm going to suggest that the big problem with authentic English is the variation. It's a question, it's never how you expect to hear it. It's not what it says in the dictionary. So variation is the thing. And so we'll look at that in part B and C, and then in part D, I want to look at some practical advice about how to deal with this stuff in the classroom, making your own material really. So, part A, the problem of decoding authentic English. Decoding, according to John Field, who I'll refer to a few times this lecture, John Field says there's decoding, which is taking the basic acoustic input and making it into sounds and words, decoding, and then meaning building, constructing some sort of meaning out of all that. It's the first part which I'm concerned with, that's more related to pronunciation. So, decoding. What's the nature of the problem here? This gesture, right? If you do that, can you hear better? Well, it's a desperate gesture, I put it to you. It's a desperate gesture to try and catch that thing which is flying past you. That's the thing about listening, right? People are scared of listening because, unlike a text, which you have in your hand, it sort of goes past and you can't grab it. Nothing to get hold of. Well, you try, anyway. So, so we're going to listen to a radio program featuring 3 young people talking about Facebook. There's a guy who's the interviewer and 2 guests, 2 young women who are on the show. And they're talking about the problems of security, really, whether if you give too many personal details away. So it's just a chat on the radio. So listen to this, and then think with your partners about what is difficult about it.
How many people does the average person have as friends on Facebook?
600.
Oh no, I think it's less than that.
Really?
I'd say 250.
The average person, how many friends do you think they have on Facebook? Is that your final answer? 250 and 600?
600.
Yeah.
It's actually 90.
90?
Really?
Yeah, 90.
We're above average.
Yeah.
That we are, Nicola, that we are.
But don't you think I think it was 90, or it could have been wrong, 120, it could be wrong. I think it was 90. Don't quote me on that.
You are full of
I was adamant it was adamant it was 90, and now I'm thinking, was it 120?
Was it
but
really?
But I remember this morning I do remember them saying, you know, even 90, right? Do you really know 90 people?
It's a very good point. I've actually just put on Facebook, do you actually know all your Facebook friends?
Yeah.
Have you actually met them all?
I know, I must have about 500, 600, maybe even more people, and I go through it all the time and think, I don't speak to you, delete. I don't even speak to you, delete. You don't know her.
Yeah.
Like, you knew them once in a lifetime, but you don't know them anymore and you don't speak to them, so what's the point in keeping them? It's stupid.
And if you think, right, they can just look at anything that you post on there, they can see everything you put up on there, all your nights out, all your writing on people's walls about your life, they can see anything, and you don't know. As you say, if you don't know 500 of them, what's to say one of them doesn't use that in the wrong way?
So, talk to the person next to you about what features of that could be difficult for your students. Anybody like to volunteer what's difficult about that, if anything?
Well, it's more than accent.
There's an accent thing. It's not the accent maybe that your teacher had. Where do you think they're from?
No.
Liverpool, okay. They're from Knowsley. on the outskirts of Liverpool, yeah. So the question of accent, which may be difficult if your students aren't familiar with that particular variety, it may cause difficulty.
Speed of delivery.
Speed, right, so there's parts of it which were fast. Although students say everything's fast, don't they?
But this was very fast. I told them that.
But maybe it's probably the word parts of that which I would say were faster than normal because they're in a high involvement chat. They really wanted to get their bit in quickly while they had the turn. So they were pushing out syllables pretty fast there in certain sections. So that's another feature.
What about connected speech?
Then there's the features of, yes, the way that the chain of speech sound is all blended together. Is that another feature?
More than one at the same time.
Yeah, simultaneous speaking.
Colloquial, solid gold information.
Yes, okay. Although that's not so much a question of just the listening. You could say that that would affect reading equally. If you see what I mean. Okay, so let's go with that. The stuff about context. This stuff about blending it together, the chain of speech, all being one. That's and the fact that they speak very fast. That's to do with what I would call the context. It's cotext, the words that come on either side of the word, and context, the very fact that they want to speak quickly in this particular situation. So that's going to be part B of the talk. And the aspect which is their variety of English, their accent, that's going to be part C of the talk. And at the end we'll come back to the same speakers again and re-examine them a little bit more.